So, as a hypothetical, what if you were super drunk and behind the wheel of a Tesla? What would happen if you passed out? You know who I've got here to explain that? We've got Seamus Byrne from Innovation Oz and Ray Johnston, the editor of Junkee. Ray, just mentally imagine me passed out in a Tesla. Would the car under autopilot keep on driving? Because there's a story out of the San Francisco Chronicle that suggests that maybe it would.
So the way the autopilot in a Tesla works is it will, or the way the emergency kind of function part of autopilot works. If it can't detect your hands being on the wheel, there will be a series of warnings to be like, hey, what you doing?
Batty. Hey, Batty, wake up.
Put your hands on the wheel. What are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you going? If there's no response to those warnings, if it still can't detect your hands, if you're not turning the warnings off, the car's supposed to start slowing down on its own, come to a complete stop and put the hazard lights on. That's meant to happen within a couple of minutes. This case, and I'm really upset that this wasn't Florida, so we can't say it was Florida Man that did this.
We should say, if you've never followed the Twitter account, Florida Man is the best Twitter account because there are so many stories about weird things that men in Florida do. If you've never followed it, just stop this, follow it now. Carry on.
So this was a California man who was asleep at the wheel, drunk, completely plastered, totally passed out, drove for over 11 kilometres for 7 minutes while the cops were trying to get him to pull over. They think it's autopilot. He won't comment. Elon Musk is tweeting vaguely.
What sort of tweets are we talking about?
He's kind of saying, well, this isn't what's supposed to happen, so we'll look into that. It's kind of the politician's response that's happening right now. And, you know, to be fair, this is a rare instance I'm going to defend Elon. He probably doesn't really know what's going on here either because this is not a usual case.
Yeah, and what you describe sounds like very pleasant and calm. It's worth pointing out that this car was doing 113 kilometres an hour in a highway in California. Like, the fact that basically robot car was doing 113 kilometers. The fact that this was doing that without potentially somebody behind the wheels, and obviously the facts are still emerging at this stage, a little bit terrifying. Yeah. Just a little bit.
I mean, there is part of it which is also, I think, the positive miracle of autopilot, right? It was using lane guidance to, stay in its lane. When the police, they're basically driving alongside, trying to work out what's going on. They then work out this guy seems to be asleep. One car apparently started doing S's, on the freeway behind it to try to slow down traffic to make sure that no one caught up to the car. But then another police car basically drove in front of it and then slowly started slowing down. And again, the autopilot system then knows to respond to the fact there's a car in front and I will now start to slow down as there is a car in front. And so it was able to slow it to a stop because it was responding to the fact there was traffic in front of it. So, it wasn't like they had to shoot out the tires or something kind of weird like that. The police worked out this is going to work because it's on autopilot.
In terms of, Tesla and driverless, not that this is a driverless car, but it seemed like it kind of was for a couple of kilometres anyway. What sort of effect do you think stories like this have on the future of driverless technology? Are we starting to see more coverage that's a little bit and maybe legitimately more alarmist, maybe?
I think what we're going to see eventually is the opposite. As the technology improves, as all the issues are ironed out, this is an emerging technology that is currently being tested on the roads. We're going to see massive problems. You look back to the first days of the aviation industry, there were a lot of crashes. The difference between what has happened in the aviation industry and what is currently happening in vehicle automation is collaboration. Aviation were required to share findings from all of these experiments in the air while they were putting lives at risk. The automotive industry at the moment is competing with each other. They've all got different programs running in different kinds of cars. They're not sharing that data and those learnings with each other. So it will take longer for this to be a safer option for people.
I did not know that about the early days of the aviation industry. I just assumed it was like the space race and everybody just competed and died.
No, it was actually required. There was an overarching body to ensure that there was safety. We need an overarching body to ensure that there's safety in automated vehicles as well. That's the bottom line of all of this.
Instead, they all just sue each other for talent. You know,
They sue each other for stealing
Tesla
IP.
to Apple. Like, it's just like...
It's like work together. This is human lives at stake.
I mean, you know, the other flip side to this is if this drunk driver had gotten in any traditional car and driven down the freeway, he would have probably killed himself and or another person on the road at 3:30 in the morning.
Absolutely.
You know,
this is a positive story. It seems wild.
It's a positive story with like some,
I mean, idiots are still going to idiot. And this is a case of an idiot actually having his life saved by, you know, his car not ending up bouncing off a wall. Again, you know, a few steps down the track, we'll get to that point where you could potentially get in your car and have it take you home, not just hoon down the freeway randomly, but actually go, and now we take turn off 16 and we drive to your house and now you can sleep in the car until you wake up, whenever that might be.
And here, have some Barocca.
Do you know what I just realised? It has taken us this entire year to end an episode of Download the Show on a positive technology note.
Yay, technology!
We got there in the end, people. Yes. All right, there is lots more of this in the podcast of Download This Show. Yes, it is a podcast. That's why I've got headphones. It's not a thing I wear normally. You can find it right now on all good podcasting apps. And if you have a topic that you would like us to cover, we're actually going off the air over summer, but if you head along to the ABC News YouTube channel and you leave a comment, we're going to be trawling that for ideas for what we do in Download This Show in 2019, and we will be back around about Australia Day. We'll see you then. Bye.